Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have some stories for you today. But before we get started, can you please do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Let's get started. Our first one comes from 1 Classroom 6449. Am I the beehole for telling my mom and her husband that they need to nip my half-sister's comments about my son's name in the bud, or the consequences will be severe? I, a 23-year-old male, lost my dad when I was 8, and my mom remarried Tony. A little over a year later, 14 months to be exact. Over the years, Tony and I clashed. He wanted to adopt me, to change my last name to his, and told me repeatedly to call him Dad. I didn't want that. The adoption petition was denied by 2 judges after I spoke to one of them. Neither were happy with the outcome, but I was relieved. Tony and my mom have 3 daughters together, my half-sisters. Tony tried to use the birth of the first one to convince me to give his name a chance. He said it would tie us all together. I told him the connection to my dad was more important than being tied to him. He told me I hated my last name, just like my dad had. So, wanted to know why I was so stubborn when I could have a better last name. I told him it was my dad's name and I wanted to keep it. When I was 17/18, I realized Mom and Tony were lying to my half-sisters and telling them Tony was my dad, but I was just born before he and my mom got married, which is why I have a different last name. They even convinced the girls I look like Tony. I told my mom I knew, and as soon as I graduated from school, I moved out and told her not to expect me to be a part of the family anymore. My mom told me I was overreacting and I should be kinder to Tony and give him a chance. I told her there's no replacing Dad, and they need to get over that wish, because pushing the adoption, name change, and calling him my dad was only going to look like replacing my dad. My wife and I got married a couple years ago. We had a very small, private wedding because of the coof. I did not invite my mom or her family. However, for the last few months, we had more contact, and she told me she wanted to be a grandma to our now 5-month-old son. We have met up 3 times since my son was born. The first time, Mom and Tony both had a bad reaction to my son's name. He's named after my dad, but not the name people called my dad. The name my dad wished he had, and the name he wrote for himself. Tony also made a snarky comment about me taking my wife's name when I wouldn't take his. The last time we saw each other was 2 weeks ago. That time, and the time before, if my half-sister asked why I didn't name my baby after their dad, and why I named him after someone who died, etc. Last time I told him Tony wasn't my dad. My son was named after my actual dad, and that's why we chose the name we did. They told me I was wrong, and said he should have been named after Tony. Mom and Tony both sat there smiling. I sent them both a message afterwards, saying if they don't nip the girls' comments in the bud, we won't be seeing each other again, and I don't care if that upsets them or not. They replied that the girls have the right to ask questions and comments, and I can't take their grandson away from them. They also said I was behaving childishly. I wish I had never started contact back up with them at all. Am I the beehole? Hi OP, I'm gonna say you're not the beehole, and yeah, I kinda agree with you, well not kind of, I do agree with you. I wish you hadn't have started contact back with them again. It doesn't sound like they were ever going to change, and that's really jacked up trying to erase your father. Another one of these stories where the step-parent's trying to erase the real parent, that's crazy. And oh boy, they got those little girls brainwashed, that's pretty freaking gross. OP, that there is no thing where a grandparent has to see their grandchild. There was a long time where my grandparents didn't see me because of who my mother married, who was my dad, who was an awesome man. They're just, not fond of certain skin tones. It took them a while to calm down, but my grandma was just following my terrible grandfather. But enough about me, sorry. But like I said, they have no right to see their grandchild. I agree with you. You should have just cut contact, keep contact cut with them. There's nothing, they're not going to change. You see them smiling when their daughters were being idiots. No, 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 no. OP, you raise your child away from them because they sound like terrible people. Both your mom and your stepfather are the beeholes, not you. Our next one comes from Purple Lilies. Am I the beehole for not wanting a hotel upgrade from my husband's ex? I, a 35-year-old female, and my husband, a 36-year-old male, have been married for 5 years and together for 8. We'll be having our first baby in 3 months, and decided to take a baby moon to a resort spa in Florida. We booked a basic room under my husband's name. Upon check-in, the attendant said we had been upgraded to the presidential suite, with full concierge service and comp spa treatments. We thought this was very strange. The attendant assured us that we would only be charged our original rate. We asked who did it, so we can thank them, thinking it was a family member or a close friend. The attendant said sometimes it happens for special occasions. On the reservation, it asked the reason for the visit, and we said we were having a baby. We're still a bit skeptical, but accepted the answer. The next day, we came back from the beach. There was a different attendant. We went over just to double check about our room. She confirmed what the previous one said about the rate. I asked, does this happen often? And she said, no, they might get a free meal or one special spa service, but nothing like you all have. When we inquired about how we got this, she stated that it could only be approved by a senior general manager and said the name of my husband's ex-girlfriend. We were both shocked, as he has not spoken to her in like 9 years. They had a very intense relationship. I know he loved her in a very special way, but distance ended it. Otherwise, they would still be together. My husband was visibly thrown at her name and was distracted the rest of the day. I guess I knew he loved her, but seeing his reaction to the gesture had me worried. The next day, he apologized and said that he was moved by what she did and was just wondering about how her life is and if she's happy. I told him I wanted to switch back to the room we booked if he was going to be thinking of her the whole time. He said he wasn't and wanted me to enjoy this gift despite how we got it. I explained that I was no longer comfortable since this was supposed to be about our new baby and now was about her. He felt I was being unreasonable and switching rooms wasn't going to change anything. I insisted we got them to change it back. Later, I told my mom, sister, and friends. They all thought I overreacted and should have stayed in the room. At first I thought I did the right thing, but now I'm not so sure. Hi OP. Sorry to say this, but I'm gonna have to agree with your husband and your sister, your friends, your mama, and say, yeah, you're the beehole on this one, not a hard beehole, because I get why you wanted to do that, but your husband's right. Changing rooms isn't going to change him or make him forget that he's, from remembering her, that activated a memory in his mind. So changing rooms did nothing. You just forcefully downgraded yourself for no reason, which is really foolish in my eyes. Like I said, I get it, you were worried, but honestly, if changing rooms, being in that room was enough to get him to, give up your marriage and all that, you don't want him. From what it sounds like, he was just hit by, it didn't end badly, so he's just, reminiscing, but he's still with you. And like I said, changing rooms wasn't gonna do anything. You just made a really foolish move. So yeah, I'm gonna say you're the beehole on this one. There was nothing you could do to change that. Changing rooms isn't gonna do anything. He's still gonna be thinking about her. Oh man, looking down the comments, TLS user says, you're the beehole. His ex did an incredibly kind thing, and was obviously trying to keep it secret, so there was no awkwardness. Your insecurities ruined what should have been a wonderful experience. I agree, I didn't even realize how the ex was. The ex wasn't being mean or vindictive, she was trying to be stealthy and quiet about it because she wanted to do a nice thing. She's a good person, judging from this gesture, because this probably wasn't cheap, the whole spa thing and all that. Yeah, OB, that kind of makes you look even worse. And our next one comes from No Letter 6330. Am I the beehole for having dairy-free and dairy food options at Thanksgiving, so now I'm not allowed to cook for Christmas dinner? I hosted Thanksgiving at my home this year. We have several lactose-intolerant family members, one of them being my son's husband. So I made recipes using oil or olive oil butter over real butter, or using lactate milk so it'd be safe. I made sure to put the dairy-free items apart from anything with regular milk and butter by having separate small tables for those dishes. My son-in-law ended up feeling very ill, and my son brought him to the ER that night. Even though I used safe ingredients, he still had a reaction to something unknown in the food. My son rang me up from the hospital, asking what was in the dishes. At the dairy safe table, I told him I used oil, vegan butter, and lactate. He was upset with me because I put milk in the mashed potatoes. I told him again I put lactate in the milk so it'd be safe. My son-in-law has recovered and is doing well. My son, however, is quite upset with me and claims he cannot trust me to cook food for them again because I mislabeled the food. He's claiming he told me many times about his husband's dairy allergy, and I agree he has, which is why I made separate food. It's now to the point where the family doesn't want me to make any dairy-free dishes for Christmas, because I'm failing to understand. Instead, they all agreed my sister-in-law will make some of those dishes, while my son and son-in-law will make the rest. I am beside myself, because I love to cook for and feed my family. I'm feeling I'm being displaced, when what happened Thanksgiving could have been caused by a reaction to anything. Editing. I understand my mistake now. It was an honest confusion. Of course I've apologized, and will again, to my son-in-law. But I'm not sure why everyone doubts that. They do not want me to pay for his EpiPen or hospital visit. All they want from me is to not prepare the food for my son-in-law any longer, which I understand now. I feel horrible I didn't look up the lactate. I honestly thought it was safe. No, I did not try to murder my son-in-law. I don't know, P. That seems like the way to do it. I'm kidding. I'm gonna say yeah, you're the beehole, but not like a soft beehole, because it honestly sounds like you made a mistake and you tried. I kind of get it. I'm not lactose intolerant. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I love milk and chocolate and all that so much. But I have family members who are, but not to that point where they need a hospital visit, where they, just get gassy and need to use the bathroom for a while. Yeah, soft, you're the beehole. I kind of get it why they don't want you to cook the things now, because yeah, the dude had to go to the hospital and that was probably real scary, and they'd like to avoid a situation like that again. So OP, it sounds like they still want you to cook. I don't know, I might be wrong, just not the lactose free stuff, which I would say is a good thing. That's less work for you to do. So yeah, soft beehole. It sounds like you understand finally what's going on and you apologized, and I don't see this as a big, huge thing since, he lived through the hospital visit. So, OP, yeah, you're gonna have to just take the hit and not make the lactose free stuff. That sucks, but, it's what it is. Sorry. Our next one comes from Outrageous Share 7008. Am I the beehole for kicking my mother-in-law out of my house for trying to convince my daughter to give up her baby to my sister-in-law? I, a 34-year-old female, have been married to my husband for 10 years. We have 2 daughters together, 7 and 5. I have a daughter from a high school relationship who is 17. My daughter is 7 months pregnant. The father is in her life. They're both working hard to save money. I have already had the necessary talks with my daughter, but she is dead set on being the mother to this child. My sister-in-law, age 35, has struggled with fertility, and basically has been told she cannot have children. They've been actively trying or just not using protection for the past 10 years, and only conceived twice, ending in early miscarriages. My mother-in-law already brought up the idea of letting sister-in-law adopt this baby, which we told her my daughter's wishes. The other day, I came home from work, and my mother-in-law was over, and I overheard her talking to my daughter about that idea, telling her how she wouldn't be a fit for a mother, and sister-in-law is much more prepared, and how she wouldn't want to repeat the cycle, because I had her so young. She then pulled a guilt trip and told her how sister-in-law's dream is for a child. I simply opened the door and just said, "Get out." She stared at me in complete disbelief. Then then said I couldn't kick her out of her own son's home. I said, I can, and I just did. She left, but then my husband got home from work, and he said she left him a ton of messages about how I'm in the wrong, and how I'm setting up my daughter for failure. My husband's on my side. Am I the beehole? Hi, OP. You are not the beehole. I think you're being a good parent and protecting your child from those 2 ghouls ganging up on her like that. Good job. And also, yeah, I do think your daughter's too young to have a baby, but if she's dead set on having the baby, then you know what? Let her have the baby. And, like I said, good job for kicking them out. But honestly, this sounds like the start of a Lifetime movie. Where they come in and they kidnap the person who's pregnant, and then they, C-section the baby out. There's a lot of movies like that, and a lot of stories like that, a lot of real life stories like that. So protect your child. I don't know if they're going to go that far, but what she's been trying to conceive a baby for a very long time, she might be going, cuckoos, and might try to pull something drastic. So protect your daughter, and congratulations to your daughter for having the baby, and also props to the boyfriend, or the husband, or whatever he is. I don't know, the guy she's having the baby with, for sticking in there and trying to build a life for the kid. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when people man up to their own thing and to something like that and handle it. That's neat. Oh, here we go. Looking in the comments, we have Environmental Art 59-1. Also, once the baby is here, do not leave them alone with mother-in-law and or sister-in-law, and keep a good close eye on them when they do interact with the baby. There have been stories of bat-crap crazy relatives trying to force their way in and replace the actual parents. I really hope those stories are fake, but when the world has such a large population in it, it doesn't surprise me if they weren't. I agree with you. Honestly, I would go a step farther and just don't let them go around the baby because I feel like they're gonna do something or pull something. And there are 100% true stories of that. I think there's a movie where it's like based on a true story of a woman who did what I said. Kidnapped a lady, did a C-section, and steal her baby, and left her to, fend for herself on the table, not medically, not sutured up or anything. So she had to figure it out, which is really jacked up. So yeah, that does happen. I would say just go no contact because it doesn't sound like they're gonna make things easier, and your little girl needs to have an easy time because she's gonna give a birth to a child. And our next one comes from Ultimate Shinobi 3243. Am I the beehole refusing to share my McDonald's with my sister who didn't get her order packaged? So, we ordered Mickey D's, and even though on the receipt it showed her order, it wasn't actually in the bag. My mother and brother told me to share mine with her, hamburger, 6 chicken nuggets, and a medium fries. But I denied this. They said that she wouldn't have anything to eat that night. However, this is untrue because in the fridge, she still has leftover lasagna, spaghetti, and meatballs from last night's Olive Garden, along with her leftover pancake from IHOP. Even after I told them that she could eat those. They insisted that I share my food with her. I didn't let up and told her to eat something else, and my mom said she was disappointed in me for not sharing even though my brother didn't offer to share either. Edit. So, I've come to the conclusion that I'm the beehole. However, I accidentally left out some info in the post that I only post in the comments. I'm 15, my sister is 10, and my brother is 17, turning 18 in January. We usually don't eat out so much, but my mom isn't feeling well at the time, and the little things I knew how to make, my sister refused to eat. Which is why we ended up getting McDonald's in the first place. My brother paid, but he gets his money through my parents. He got a quarter pounder, 2 large fries, a vanilla milkshake. My main problem wasn't the fact that I was asked to share, it was the fact that I was only the one being asked to share, even though I had the least. The food I mentioned being in the fridge all belonged to my sister, and she wouldn't let anyone else have them. I tried to include this info before, but I couldn't. I think it was cause of the contest mode or something. I don't know what that means. The contest mode or something? But yeah, let's see. I haven't looked in the comments yet, but I'm guessing since OP said in the edit, she says people are saying she's the beehole and she's accepted that. After getting more info, even before getting more info, I'm going to say no. Because in that situation, you have a couple options. I know something like this happened to us, but it wasn't Mickey D's. It was Popeyes. And Popeyes loves to screw you over, but I do like their chicken. Well, we ordered, chicken, and we're missing like 2, 3, I don't know. We missed enough where a person in our family couldn't get a meal. So we didn't do that whole share thing because Popeye's chicken is super tiny. We ended up calling them and going back and getting the rest of our food. Couldn't they have done that for McDonald's? And it's not like, I don't know how far McDonald's is from you, but McDonald's is not far. You could throw a pebble and hit a McDonald's, And I agree with you, OP. If everyone else shared, fine, because it sounds like your brother almost got enough food for 2 meals. 2 large fries and a quarter pounder. I don't know how big a quarter pounder is. The only thing I like to get at McDonald's is the little chicken sandwiches they make. That used to be $1, but I think everything's like $6 now. It's getting crazy. Or 2 for $6. And also, I was about to say, you guys eat out a lot. You shouldn't do that. It's not good for you. But you addressed that in the story. Your mom wasn't feeling well, and that's why you guys did that. I get it. And also, ugh, man. Olive Garden? Come on, man. That's gross. You guys, if you're gonna eat out, eat more McDonald's, not Olive Garden. You love yourself, right? Jeez. But yeah, after all of that, OP, I'm definitely gonna say you're not the beehole. You had options to fix the situation, and I doubt McDonald's gives a crap if people call them and tell them, hey, they're missing a burger and fries that cost them nothing. So they would have given it to you probably. And like you said, she had a ton of food in the fridge. She had a lasagna. I mean, yeah, given it's Olive Garden is garbage, but I mean, it's still edible, I think. I can't remember the last time I had Olive Garden. So, yeah, OP, you're not the beehole. And you had the least amount of food too. That's not cool, man. Yeah, not the beehole. Screw the comments, not the beehole. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end of this video. Can you please do what I said in the beginning and like, comment, and subscribe? It will really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Velvet out.